Well, good morning on this fine Monday. This will actually be my second recording. I don't know exactly what happened. I was in the middle of recording this the first go round, and my phone decided to just reset, and the entire video got lost. So here we are again, round two. We'll see how this one goes. So let me first say I didn't publish videos until like Sunday. Well, I put them up on YouTube, but had them kind of like private for the week. I was spending time with family. Had to fix the lawnmower, mow the grass, mowed my neighbor's grass. He's having some troubles in life right now, so I tried to help him out a little bit. Spent some time with the kids, worked on some schoolwork, and looked at editing the videos. The little bit of editing that I did, I basically was like, you know what? I like the raw content when I watch people. So, we'll just post it raw. You know, won't even worry about doing all the fancy editing and stuff as of right now. You know, maybe later on down the road we'll look at doing some of those things. But I like the raw videos when I watch people. So, I want to try to cater to that side of things for at least right now, considering I got everything going on. The thing I wanted to talk about this morning, though, is some of the people that I watch and influencers and things of that nature. So, the first person, obviously, will be Seth Feroce. Seth Feroce, I just love his outlook on life. Basically, my father was never in the picture, had a bunch of really bad male role models, and at times I feel like he's the dad I never had with some of the life advice he gives and stuff. And when he talks about some of the things he talks about, it just strikes a chord with me in kind of that how a father would talk to his son about, you know, taking care of his family and things of that nature. And I really like that side of things. So he also puts out good fitness stuff. He's got two companies, All American Roughneck and Access Sledge Supplements. I've bought from both of those. Amazing stuff that he puts out. He's very transparent on his products, on what they are and what they're for. And the flavors are amazing. So highly recommend that. The next person I'll talk about, which I want to do kind of a 2-for-1 here, because the reason I watch both of them is the same thing, and I'll kind of give an analysis or my general overview of both of them. But it's RP Hypertrophy with Dr. Mike Israetel and Athlean X with Jeff Cavaliere. So when I first kind of got into fitness a long time ago, I was watching Jeff Cavaliere with Athlean X. I don't even think RP Hypertrophy and Dr. Mike Israetel were even a thing yet back then. He's been like the godfather or grandfather or you know, he's the original OG of YouTube fitness. I mean, he's been around for forever. He's got like 14 million subscribers or something crazy like that. The guy's just been killing it. So his background is he was a strength and conditioning coach for Major League Baseball, and he was a physical therapist. So he looks at stuff from that scope, and he's been lifelong into fitness and taking care of his body and stuff like that. His stuff, in my opinion, is better for the everyday man who just wants to be lean, athletic, and healthy. Now, fast forward, if you're wanting to be a big behemoth, or you're bodybuilder, or you're into optimizing for hypertrophy, in comes Dr. Mike Israetel with RP Hypertrophy. I mean, it's in the title, you know, RP Hypertrophy. His big thing is hypertrophy. He's a bodybuilder. He does take like anabolic steroids and all those good things. He freely admits all that stuff. But just because he takes the juice, as they say, doesn't mean the advice he gives is not credible or good. I think some of the videos that he's put out are phenomenal. He's definitely an expert in the field. So with both of those, you kind of have to figure out what you want to do. I've been doing the RP stuff now for about a year. I think I bought it back in November. So I went from 238 down to 205. I got the RP stuff. I bolted back up to 215. Then I went back down to 200. Then I just finished last week bulking back up to 210 with the RP and stuff. So now I'm going to try to go down to 200 again. The reason I'm not trying to stack down anymore is because I don't like the bulking and cutting stuff. I feel like it puts a little bit too much stress on my body with everything else I got going on. So I'll probably do this cut down to 200, and then I'll kind of revert back down to the Athlean X side of things, where I'm just trying to slowly over time lose weight and keep it off and just maintain a healthy lifestyle. I have no desire to do any kind of like bodybuilding competitions or anything like that, so I don't see the point in me continuing this bulking and cutting cycle if I'm not gonna be doing anything along those lines. I basically just wanna have visible abs year round, or at least, be very close to having a six-pack. That way, let's say, I think at probably like 190 is when my abs and everything, 185, 190 is when everything really, really shows, but I still have good muscle mass. So, if I'm hanging around like 195 or 190, and then summertime comes and I just drop an extra, 5-6 pounds, and all of a sudden I'm shredded to the gills for the beach, then that's perfect for me. I think that's where I want to be at, and I just want to stay in that realm of healthy living. But like I said, if you're into the bulking, cutting stuff, you're thinking about doing bodybuilding, you're wanting to do any of those things, I'd highly suggest Dr. Mike Israetel, IP Hypertrophy. If you're more so wanting to do athletics and just general health, not necessarily optimized training, so to speak, I would say Athlean X is probably your guy. So let's see, we covered an overall, we covered 2 fitness. Let's go to finances. All right, so finances, me and my wife 3 years ago, maybe, about 3 years ago, we did the Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. Learned a lot from it. We currently don't really do the full baby steps now, just because the $1,000 emergency fund just was not really working for us. But we did take away some huge key points from it. We definitely budget our money now. We do not have any credit cards. We've paid off all of our debts. We got our insurance and stuff like that changed up to where it works better with our finances. I didn't have term life insurance. I now have term life insurance just in case something were to happen to me. It can cover my wife. Like if I was to die, everything would be paid off, and she would be good for the next 5 to 10 years, even after paying everything off. That way it gives her time with the kids to grieve, and she doesn't have to worry about how she's going to pay the mortgage. And it's very cheap. I highly recommend everybody, especially if you're the breadwinner for your household, just get the term life insurance for just in case something were to happen to you. And Dave Ramsey's plan is basically take your income, times it by 10, and that's how much you need to get. Another plan, it's not Dave Ramsey's plan, but another thing that I've seen is where you take your term life insurance to figure out how much you're going to get. You add up all your debts, like student loan, cars, house, everything, figure out what that is. So let's say it's like $500,000 to pay off the house, cars, and everything. So you would do that, and then you would add another half. So in that case, like let's say it's 500, so half of 500 is 250. So it's like you would do the initial 500, then you would throw another 250 on top of that for 750,000. Because what that would do is it would essentially allow you to pay everything off and then still have money to live off of for a little while, and then that just gives your family peace of mind after you die. So highly recommend doing that. I learned that from there. Admittedly, we're not really doing all the baby steps, but we did take a lot from it now. We were real big on it, just kept hitting speed bumps and kind of falling back into the hole because of life events, and realized it, the such a small emergency fund over such a larger span of time, and then having kids, and kids get sick, hurricanes hit, and then all of a sudden you got like a $3,000 deductible for your homeowner's insurance to cover that. Obviously, if you only got $1,000 of savings, now you got to figure out how to come up with the other $2,000 to put a new roof on your house, stuff like that. So kind of went away from it because of all those kind of life events that happen. So the other financial person I've kind of gotten into is the financial, what is it? The Money Guy Show. Money Guy Show. That's another YouTube. So recently found them. I've kind of been looking into their stuff. Their stuff makes more sense to me a little bit as far as like all of life events. I feel like Dave Ramsey's plan is very simplified, and sometimes the simplest plan is the best plan, admittedly. It's just my life has so many like variables and stuff going on. I feel like it just wasn't conducive with everything we had going on. But admittedly, sometimes the simplest plan is the best plan. So by all means, definitely explore that option. But with that said, the Money Guy Show, they have the order of operation. I'm starting to look into that a little bit. That'll probably be the route I move going forward, because it kind of makes a little bit more sense to me. Let's see. We've covered Seth. We covered 2 Fitness, 2 Finances. Let's cover business next. So, obviously, I do have my realtor license. I have been doing it. Right now, I've cut back quite a bit because of the nurse practitioner school and everything. So, sorry about that. Tired this morning. So, business related, there's only really one big business person I watch, and that's Alex Hormozi. Puts out great content. I've watched some of the summaries of some of his books, and the summaries make a lot of sense to me. He has shorter videos, longer videos, in-depth videos, general videos, and it's all business related, and it's all proven stuff. It's not theory. Like, this is stuff that he actually does, or he does with clients to help boost them from, let's say, $1 million business to a $10 million business. Like, that's what he does, and he talks about the strategies he uses. So Alex Hormozi, I love watching his business stuff. I'm planning on reading some of his books once I finish the nurse practitioner program and everything. Right now, I just have so much other stuff I'm reading, there's no way I'd have time. Mondays are always the worst for me. So, the Seth Feroce, 2 Fitness, 2 Finance. I guess technically you could throw Tony Robbins in there. I haven't really listened or watched any Tony Robbins in a long time. But like way back in the day for motivation, and then he covers some business and finances and, changing your mood and stuff like that. He covers a lot of topics, but Tony Robbins is a legend in his own right, and I would be dismissed if I didn't mention him. Tony Robbins, really great guy. does a lot of good stuff. I mean, he's done like counseling and stuff like that for former presidents, and just puts out really good stuff. So then, let's see. We can go to nursing next. So nursing, admittedly, I did not just watch one person. I think everyone who's ever done nursing school has come across registerednursern.com. Oh man, I can't remember that girl's name. But anyone that's went through nursing school has watched one of her videos, and they know exactly who I'm talking about. And her voice is like the most annoying voice ever, but she puts out amazing information. Which I say that, and my voice is probably even more so annoying than hers. But she puts out really good information. If there was ever something I didn't understand, somehow she had a freaking video for it, and it was really in depth and made it where I could understand it. So she's really good. For the nurse practitioner stuff, there's osmosis.org. They cover a lot of science stuff, like anatomy and physiology stuff. I think there's one that's called like Nerd. I think it's called Nerd Science or Nerd Lab, maybe. I recently found them. Actually, one of my professors is the one that recommended them in one of our chapters in the very beginning, and I found them, and they are like very, very in depth. Probably like MD level in depth. A really funny one, he does like shorts. A lot of his stuff is more so humorous on TikTok and stuff like that. Is Dr. Glockum Flockum. His stuff is just hilarious to me. If you're a medical personnel and you watch it, it'll crack you up. If you're not a medical personnel, it'll probably fly right over your head because you don't know what they're talking about. But his stuff is really funny. I don't really get into a lot of the nursing stuff as far as like TikTok, YouTube, stuff like that. I don't really, as much as I love nursing, I'm in it. I've been doing it for, I've been doing healthcare because I started out in the Army as a combat medic. I got my EMTB, EMTI, paramedic, and then later RN, then BSN. Was going to go to med school, but me and my wife had kids, and I wanted to be a father rather than a doctor, so I didn't go. Took some hiatus from school, and now I'm doing my nurse practitioner. So I've been in healthcare since like 2012 in some form capacity. I've been a nurse for 7 years. So with that, it's kind of like, what do you do for all these things? Like, I know I got the knowledge, I got the experience, but like I'm not entertained by it. Like, I know nurses and people that watch Grey's Anatomy, Chicago Med, or they like to watch like nurse TikToks, like when people do the nursing TikToks and stuff. It just doesn't do nothing for me. I guess because I've been in it and I've seen it and I live it. It doesn't entertain me like that. So I don't really watch any of those. I know those people exist, but I don't really watch them. Entertainment purposes, people that are watching entertainment is probably the biggest genre, so to speak. So one, it's kind of informative, but it's also entertaining. Alpha M with Aaron Marino, I think is how you say his last name. His stuff is pretty entertaining. He talks about, men's health and everything a lot too. I like his stuff. He's very entertaining though. Another one, if I'm kind of like a relaxing vibe, if anyone has ever played Rust, the video game, I am a gamer at heart. I've played Rust a lot. I still play it from time to time. But there's two YouTubers on there. The first one is Willjum, and admittedly, I probably watch him more. Rust is a very chaotic game where you start naked on a beach and you try to fight to survive, build a base, and yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go too in depth. I mean, if you want to look into it, Rust is a really good game. It's got a lot of different elements to it, and it can be very addicting. It's very chaotic and very competitive. But Willjum gets on there, and he's just got like this nice, relaxing vibe in all the chaos. And it's like he has like that soothing tone of voice and everything, and his videos will be like an hour long, and you'll watch the whole video, and you're like, dang, like I'm just relaxed, and I'm not stressed or anything, and you know, the videos have its ups and downs, and it just keeps you entertained. So I like watching his stuff. The other guy from Rust is T-Guy Tom. T-Guy Tom, I mean, it's in the name. One of the things you can do in Rust is you can make farms. So he'll make like these farms and create teas and sell the teas, and then it's like by the end of the wipe, like he's sometimes the richest guy on the entire map simply because he's got a tea farm. And he does different kind of builds with his tea farms and stuff like that, so it's very entertaining. But yeah, T-Guy Tom, he's a really good one too. Either one of those, if you watch him, you'll be entertained with it. Especially if you like Rust. I know people that don't even play Rust that watch those guys just for the entertainment of it. So, if you got like an hour, you want something to relax you, either one of those two can definitely suit that build. What I would probably compare it to that most people already watch is if you ever watch those Try people build like elaborate buildings and pools and stuff like that with sticks and mud on YouTube. Like, I really don't believe that they're building all that with sticks and mud, but that's besides the point. But if you ever watch those videos, it kind of has that element to it where you get to see them start from nothing and build something great, and then it's just very calming in a way. So got them two there. I love comedy. A lot of my wife's family, they do like construction, trade, stuff like that. As a realtor, I'm around a lot of those people too. I know a lot of handymen and stuff like that, just as a guy in general. One of the people that I find hilarious is Ricky and the Boss. If you want a hard laugh, Ricky and the Boss is hilarious. And they cover a wide range of like topics. A lot of it is construction and stuff like that. It's just very humorous and funny just thinking about some of the videos. But Ricky and the Boss. Another one is Ginger Billy. Ginger Billy is redneck as they come. He's actually in real life a respiratory therapist, and his wife is a nurse practitioner. But he got famous during COVID, starting making TikToks and YouTube videos of all the outlandish things he was making. Like he made like a tank, as he called it, which was actually like a minivan that he repurposed with a potato gun launcher on the top. And he made like a funny video about it and this, that, and the other. And that's just one of the examples. I mean, he made a lawnmower. It was like a lawnmower, but it was like a dirt bike. Like just outlandish stuff, and then he advertises for it, and it's just hilarious. But yeah, Ginger Billy's a really good one. Any comedian, I love comedians. I love watching the stand-ups or hearing about comedians talk. Like when comedians are on shows and they talk about other comedians and stuff like that. To me, my era, the GOAT is Dave Chappelle. I know your older people will be like, oh, Richard Pryor, and name a bunch of other people. Stand-up wise, I didn't grow up watching them people, so I'm not going to name them. Mine was Dave Chappelle. I mean, Dave Chappelle, in my opinion, is the greatest. And, you could talk about other comedians. I mean, even people like Kevin Hart will say Dave Chappelle is the GOAT. So, I grew up watching, movie-wise, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was like my childhood idol. That's where I get a lot of my sense of humor from, is from watching pretty much anything that Jim Carrey was in. I watched it. I love Jim Carrey's sense of humor because his sense of humor is not one that it doesn't take anyone down. Like he makes everybody laugh kind of like at his own expense. He's not trying to hurt anyone's feelings by making them an outcast in a way. And he did that for, years in his movies. I mean, obviously, you got The Grinch, which is a Christmas classic. I don't think anyone around Christmas time can argue that The Grinch is probably one of the best Christmas movies. In my opinion, it is the best Christmas movie. The Grinch is the best Christmas movie. But you can't argue that it's top tier. It's got to be top 3 or top 5 for everybody. I feel like The Grinch is just amazing. The animated ones, they're not that bad either. But Jim Carrey was a huge thing for my childhood. I grew up in a very rough home. I'll probably do a separate video kind of talking about some of that stuff. But watching his stuff kind of made me forget about everything that I was growing up around and stuff like that. Robin Williams was another one in that era too. So, let's see. Dave Chappelle stand-up wise is great. I like comedians that, go from one end to the spectrum to the other. So, I mentioned how Jim Carrey, I grew up watching him, and then he basically doesn't poke the fun at nobody. But then I also will watch people like Jimmy Carr, who is a notorious offensive person. British comedian, hilarious guy though. And he does a lot of crowd work. I like when people do the crowd work because it's very on the spot, and I love that kind of humor too. But his stuff is very, very offensive, but very hilarious to me. And he is kind of the equal opportunity offender, I guess you would label it. And I feel like when you do it that way, it's fine in a way. So his thing is he doesn't pick on one person or one group of people or one race or any of that stuff. He is just covering all the races, all the groups, all the whatever. Like, he just gives everybody equal treatment and just bashes everybody. And I feel like if you're going to go down that rabbit hole where you're kind of gonna say those kind of things and stuff like that, you have to be that way. You can't just hone in on one group, or else you're not gonna make very far. And I think the reason that Jimmy Carr and a few other people that have done those kind of on the nose, very offensive jokes, the reason that they are somewhat successful is because of that. They do a very blanket approach where they just hit everybody up, not just one group of people. Let's see, entertainment stuff. Let's see, covered the relaxing, covered the comedians, covered the stand-up. Other than that, as far as movies, I mean, like I said before, I really like the John Wick stuff. That's just a guy thing. But predominantly what we watch is like family stuff. Like I mentioned before, dad mode. I love it. My kids, I mean, we just took them 2-3 weeks ago, maybe. Might have been a month ago by now. Whenever How to Train a Dragon came out, we went to theaters and watched that. My kids loved it. It was great. So we watch a lot of things like that. Me and my wife will do date nights, and we'll kind of watch whatever she wants to watch usually. Which admittedly, I got her into Marvel and stuff like that. So anytime the Marvel stuff comes out, we'll usually watch it together in theaters and have a date night, me and her. And then later, if it's appropriate for the kids and stuff like that, we'll watch it at home when it comes out on Disney Plus or whatever it's going to come out on. So that pretty much covers it. I mean, that's the main kind of people that I watch and listen to and stuff like that. I know people talk about podcasts and stuff like that. I don't really watch podcasts a lot. If I find something that sparks my interest, I watch it. I mean, I grew up watching WWE, so every once in a while I'll see someone do an interview that I liked from my childhood, and I'll watch those interviews, or I'll watch that podcast that has them on it, just because, it's someone from my childhood, and they're talking about, behind the scenes and stuff like that, and I really like those things. But just podcasts in general, I don't really just watch anybody religiously or anything like that. So, like, for instance, Joe Rogan is probably one of the podcasts that I've watched several times just because he has very interesting people on. Another one is Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn, I don't even know how he gets some of the people he gets on his show. It's just so his podcast is he will have President Donald Trump on one week. Next week he's talking to some like crackhead from the corner store or something. Like his stuff is is wild, but very entertaining. And he takes more of a very laid back approach to his stuff, so I like his stuff when he interviews people. And then Joe Rogan's just amazing. I mean, he's the I guess the gold standard, so to speak, of podcasting. But even with him, I don't watch all his podcasts. I just watch the ones I'm interested in, like the pyramid stuff. I'm a huge history nerd, admittedly, also. So I love history stuff. So anytime there's someone on there talking about like Nikola Tesla or the ancient pyramids or stuff like that, I'm in it. I'm like, all right, let's watch this. This might be cool, something I'm interested in. But with that, I'm gonna finish up this last little bit of drive. Probably got like maybe about an hour left. So if you haven't already, give the kids, wife, everybody hugs, kiss, slap the old lady on the butt, let her know you love her. But, just have a good day and do whatever you're doing today, just do what you can with it. If it's something out of your control, don't stress it. You can only do what you can. But with that, have a good day.